Hi everyone. In today's lecture video, I'm going to show you the concept of income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand, in short YED, measures the percentage change in quantity demand due to percentage change in income. So this is very similar to what we learned in price elasticity of demand. However, here we are we want to see the effect of income change on the quantity demand. So remember that in when we were talking about PED, we were discussing about the effect of price change. But here we want to see how any changes, if brought in income, then how we respond to that change through adjusting our quantity demand. So try to understand before delving into the calculation part. I want you to understand this. If income increases, do you think your quantity demand will fall or it would increase? Think about this, because if your income increases, this means that now you can afford more of it, you can spend more money on it. So by that logic, if income increases, if income, let's say y denotes your income increases, then quantity demand would increase as well. So the way we calculate it, YED, or we also denote this by eta, but you can use YED. So YED, we follow the midpoint method, just like we did in calculation of PED. So here we use the midpoint method. But you need to observe the changes as well. Like it's not exactly the same formula. Here the notation is different because we are looking to the change in income, not price anymore. So Y2 represents new income, Y1 represents old income. So try to do some maths. Like let's say Y2, your new income is 10,000. Your old income, let's say, was 5,000. And let's say Q2 is your new quantity demand, which is 200. And Q1, your old quantity demand, probably 150. So try to find out the value of YD. Now, before I actually discuss about the significance of the values of YD, just like we discussed in like in the topic when we were talking about the price elasticity of demand, we saw that for different values, it signifies something. So here also, for different values of YD signifies something. So we need to understand that. So normal goods and different goods. So these are the goods that we often use as examples in our discussions. The goods where we tell that by the general law of demand, if price increases, the quantity demand will fall, and vice versa. And also, if there is a rise in income, the quantity demand increases. So those kind of goods are different goods slash normal goods. Now, these normal goods can be further categorized into necessary goods and luxury goods. Necessary goods and luxury goods. Now, necessary goods. So whenever you see your YD is the value is between 0 and 1, the value is between 0 and 1, that means you have a necessary good in your hand. So the YD represents a necessary good. So let's say YD is 0.5. So this falls between 0 and 1, right? So this represents a good that is necessary good, but I also want you to understand how to interpret this. So just like the price elasticity of demand, YD can be explained in this way. If income increases by 1%, your quantity demand will increase by 0.5%. Now, these necessary goods, remember these goods are inelastic. So remember this, necessary goods are inelastic often. And when YD is greater than 1, the value is greater than 1, then we are dealing with luxury goods. And luxury goods tend to be elastic, right? So if YD is 1.5, this means that the good in your hand is a luxury good. This is an interesting concept, like the inferior goods. Inferior goods are those goods for which, if there is an increase in income, the demand for that good will actually decrease. The quantity demand actually falls if there is an increase in income. So an example could be frozen vegetables, because imagine that now you have more money in your hand, like your income, you got a you got more money, like you got a salary raise and all. Now you can afford to buy fresh vegetable. So quantity demand for frozen vegetables will actually fall down with your, if your income increases. So frozen vegetables can be regarded as inferior goods. So this is also very important. Like when YD is less than 0, when YD is less than 0, this means there is a negative impact, right? If your income increases, then there's a negative impact on the quantity demand. That means YD would be negative, and that means that the good is inferior one. So the graphs of these different types of values are presented here. I've illustrated a few of those, like for example, YD greater than 1, elastic. Remember I told you luxury goods, elastic. And when we are talking about YD value between 0 and 1, that is inelastic. Inelastic, because necessary goods, right? Necessary goods. And also I want you to think of this, like beside necessary goods, cheap goods and goods that have no close substitutes, that is options. So these goods are also elastic. Okay, so necessary goods, cheap goods, and goods that have no close substitutes, like other options, these goods tend to be more inelastic. Okay, so here, okay, this should be less than 1. Yeah, so YD less than -1, and it is elastic. And here 0 less than YD less than -1. So this one will be 0 greater than, so this one would be -1 less than YD less than 0. So -1 less than YD less than 0. So for example, the value of -0.5. So this means that it is inelastic. However, this is a negative YD, right? So you see the straight line here is inverse. And for negative YD, when we are dealing with an elastic good, the straight line here is inverse. Now,